Hello and welcome to the class today. I'm Nolan Clark. In this series we're busy drawing the statue of David. In the previous lesson we've drawn the eyes, so if you haven't seen that class, just go and take a look. It is here available for you. Today we're going to work on the nose and the cheek area. So lots of little subtle shadings. When we did the initial sketch we did get some of the basics plotted in. So it's lots of fine-tuning work today. So let me show you what the drawing looks like at this stage, and then we'll plan it out from there. So that's where we're at this point. We've got most of the tonal values in there. They may need to adjust ever so slightly. Once we've got more of these tonal values in, we'll be able to judge if they're dark enough or light enough better when those tonal values are in. So today I think we'll work on this area over here around the nose. So let's go there. Alrighty. So initially we did get most of these tonal values in. So we do have quite a bit of dimension and depth there already. So the main thing that we're going to do now is just continue to build up those darker tonal values. And to do that I'm going to start here by the most important place, and that's here by the nostrils. Because instantly that establishes the darkest tonal values. And that'll make it easier for us to judge all the little in-between tonal values, because now we've got the lightest and the darkest tonal value established. So let's put down the legend over there. Let's use an 8B. So over here, there's a found line over here. So I'm going to put that line in instantly quite dark. And I seem to come to around here. And then instantly I'm going to lay off the pressure on the pencil and just lay down some tonal value down over here. Just let the pencil lay down that graphite. We'll darken up and press harder later on when we're more happy that we've got all our positionings and stuff right. Alright, on this side it's much smaller because David is now looking that way. For us it seems like it's right, but he's probably looking to his left. Yeah, it's pretty good over there. And then here it just all fades out and stuff. So I think let's take our blending stump and let's establish that real dark over there. Really working that into the weave of the paper on that edge over there. Cool, and then from here it's going to just fade out a little bit. So I'm laying off on the pressure, just literally feather light touch on the blending stump. Alright, so let's just use whatever's left on the blending stump and just bring these tonal values down here. There's quite a bit of shadow in this area, because your nose is now casting a shadow on the face, which makes this whole area here quite dark as well. So let's continue adding more tonal value around here. Here about the fulcrum. So the fulcrum is that little dent in between the nose and the lips in the center. So no pressure, just laying down graphite. Build all this up in layers. Here it's quite dark over there. So let's just establish that little found line over there. You find there's not too many found lines on the face. With something like this, you'll find that will be now a few more found lines than you'll find on a real face. simply because things have now been chiseled and carved and probably have a few more hard edges than you do on the face, on a skin face. Yeah, so that sort of curls around in a bit of a circular motion over there. Yeah, I think that's probably about as much as we can lay down there without getting it too dark. Right, let's go to an HB. Maybe even let's go to an H. Just to make sure we don't go too dark too quickly. Let's just get some tonal value down here as well. That's not white, it's way too light at the moment. But initially when we used the cloth and the sponge, we didn't want to put anything really around here because then we lose that rounding of the nose. But now that we're working there, now it's fine. Now we can fiddle around with those things. Alright, so we've got some tonal value there that can be moved around. Now we can go to that B pencil about. Let's just lay a little bit of tonal value down here. So this is part of that shadow again. That shadow does come down here. Just like that. You see I'm using like a circular motion to lay all of this down. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be good. Here's a nice little found line on the lip there. Maybe what we can do is we can just erase that. Just so we make sure that he stays defined over there in that area. Alright, cool. So I think I'll use the brush just to blend this. Because those tonal values are mostly correct actually. So we're just blending it to get that nice and smooth. Let's get that tonal value there, just a little bit light, and that tonal value there on that nostril is a little bit light. I think we can go to the blending stump for this nostril here. So here we do need this to be dark. Let's make sure that goes in there nice and dark. Okay, that's cool with that. Right, let's go back to the B. And now let's work on getting that little tip of the nose established over there. So again, I'm going to just lay down the tonal value that I need. Leaving it just a little bit lighter, because I know when I blend it's going to darken up on me a little bit. And then I'm also working on just getting the shape right. When you put that initial blending down there, then it's not particularly accurate. Alrighty, can you see here's a nice little shadow over here, and it's giving us a found line in this, just that little corner there. So I'll lay in that corner and then work out that little shadow shape there. That little shape seems to run out a little bit in that direction. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's fine. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. It's quite dark over there. It's giving us that nice little found line there. And then it goes around. As it comes around, it's getting slightly narrower. Seems to be something like that. Alright, let's give this a quick little blend. Very, very gentle with a brush. No pressure on that brush whatsoever. He's just doing his own thing. Okay, so over here, can you see it's darker over here and it goes lighter to there? So I'm adding, or I'm brushing more over here where it's dark. And then I'll gradually move across, so that when you've got still lots of loose graphite available, you're laying it down here where it needs to be dark. And then as that available graphite is now embedded inside the texture of the paper, then you can gradually move across to the lighter areas. So this here seems like it can still go a little bit darker, eh? Okay, let's bring that up a little bit. Yeah, it's mostly there. Right, that there seems like a little bit still too light. So I'm just adding a tiny touch of tonal value down there. Let's go to the H pencil. Let's just darken up this little area over here a little bit more. So here's something interesting happening in this area. Can you see you've got, there it's light and dark behind it on the cheek. Here it's dark and it's light behind it on the cheek. So I'm going to use my Tombow eraser. I'm going to just gently establish that little found line over there. Like that. And then gently work my way from here this way with the eraser. Just to create the smallest little shading over there. Alright, and then here you've got that dark, which then becomes a mid-tone. And then just in that little rounding over there, it becomes a light. So we'll have to use the pencil to lay down this little mid-tone. this running here goes a little bit lower. So just a tiny touch more graphite in there, and you can see it's not much, it's just little touches. That should be fine over there for now. So even this here is not quite white. There seems to be our lightest area on the drawing. So I'm going to just take my my brush, pick up a little graphite, and then I'm going to just very gently run it across here like that, just to soften up this little shading that we've got. And to lay down some graphite over there so that it's not white. It's not a lot. Yeah, I think that's cool there like that. What I do see is this here is actually slightly too dark. So I'm going to take my eraser, my kneaded eraser, make it into a ball, and tap it onto my piece of graphite paper. And I'm going to just start gently tapping and lightening this up until I'm happy with the tonal value. So I'm not turning it in places. I can see, for example, over there, can you see there's like a little darker line? So I am now turning the eraser just so that I'm using a more sharper rounding in that little area over there, so that I'm equalizing out the tonal value at the end of the day, to make that tonal value flatter and more even. You see there? You gradually get rid of that little line that you've got there. Yeah, that should be fine there like that for now. Let's pick up a little bit more graphite. So this here needs to go darker. Maybe I'll just use the H pencil just to add some more tonal value down here. Which is now obviously more accurate than what it was when we put it with the sponge. Yeah, that's cool. Let's go to the B. Let's get this here nice and dark. So here's that other found line. There was the light one, and here's the darker one. And it seems to sort of come out in a bow like that. Let's adjust that shape there. It's also not quite right on that shape. It needs to come out a little bit more straight and then curve down on this nostril wing. Probably something more like that. Okay, let's blend that outwards. Again, in that bow shape. So that's sort of the thing when you're doing nose, the nose and the cheek sort of flow in from each other. So I'll often tend to do both at the same time. Yeah, that's cool over there. Right, let's start working on this over here. So I'm going to just take a look and carefully see where do I need to go a little bit darker. Most of this needs to go a little bit darker, but especially in that area over there. Can you see it's like dents in over there. So look at that shape as well. It goes around like this. It's not a straight line. So that's something that we're going to have to get right. And then around here, there's that little, I don't know if that's maybe just a bit of a marking inside the stone over there. Not sure. But he gives us a nice little place to start out from. So remember, all very gentle. Very, very gentle. So I think here's a good question. When do you use the brush to blend? And when do you use the blending stump? You use the brush for a lot more subtle blendings. For example, over here, there's no real hard lines or anything like that. So I could use the blending stump, but then you'd need to use a flatter one like this. So it's not so broad. So and you see there? That's essentially what you've got. If you're using this fine tip, it tends to give you now almost a bit of a line when you're blending with that. But I tend to use the blending stump with darker areas, and then the brush with lighter, more subtle shadings. Yeah, that's good. I think that there could probably come down a little bit further. So I'm going to just brush over it and just see. Yeah, it's probably good there now, eh? Alrighty, so there's a bit of a little darker line coming down there, which I would probably need to use the 8B for, not the not the 2H. Picked him up by accident. Can you see there's a bit of a line there by that little tear duct piece over there? It's a distinct little change in angle over there and over there. So I'm just going to work that in. And then on this area over there, it needs to come down, so it needs to go lighter. So I'm going to just take my kneaded eraser, make him to a nice little sharp point like this. Just gently tap, very gently tap. And I'm okay if he ends up a little bit too light, because now we'll just use our pencils and just polish that little area. It's not too light until it is the correct tonal value. Alrighty. Okay, so some of these areas over here also need to go darker. So we'll just push whatever graphite is there up to get that shape right, and then we'll work on the tonal value. In other words, worry about getting just the shapes and the shadings in place, and then from there you fix your tonal value. So I think let me just lay down a piece of paper over there so that I don't dirty what's underneath here. Quite a dark little line that, so just keep establishing it. Getting that a little bit more accurate. Here also seems to be a little darker area over there, little line. And then this total tonal value here needs to go darker. So I'm just going over there a little bit more, like that. So it's dark, but these little changes inside the dark are surprisingly subtle. Yeah, all that goes over there, and all that is going to end up darker. So I think I'll stop over there, because then we're going to, otherwise we end up working on the eyebrow and not on the nose and cheek areas. It's so easy to get carried away, isn't it? Alrighty, let's get this, get some more tonal value there. Nice soft touch. But you see now, here's really dark. Now I can use the blending stump. So I need to get that graphite really well into the paper over there. Alright. And then also another time when you're going to use this versus this is that this here is going to give you just also broader blendings, where this gives you more, you can go more detailed because there's a sharper point. For example, over here, there's a smaller blending that I need to do. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of graphite that's over here, and I'm going to layer down here. And if there's no graphite happening over there, take your sheet of paper with a graphite on it, and use that to pick up the graphite that you need. Before we continue, I want to briefly tell you about my real-time paint and draw along art classes on my website. For a very small amount, you can get access to over 400 paint and draw along tutorials, where you pack out your art supplies and you follow along as I show and explain to you in step-by-step detail how to complete each project. There are classes in acrylic, oil, watercolor, pencil, soft pastel, and even lesser known mediums like pen and ink and scratchboarding. There's a link in the description below. Take a look. You'll be amazed at the awesome classes available there. Alrighty, let's continue from where we left off. So you do now also have to realize that the minute you start using the blending stump, it becomes difficult to erase that area. So don't start using the blending stump too soon. Try and establish your little areas that you want and the tonal values and stuff as best you can using the pencil. Okay, so here I'm also just using the blending stump as a tool to darken. So I'm using that existing graphite that's there, just laying it down like that. I'm just shoving it into the texture of the paper, essentially, you could say. Here's a very subtle little shading, so I'm just using the lightest little touch. The lightest touch. I think maybe let's rather use the brush. Over there as well. I can also go just a little bit darker in that area there. Okay, and over here. That one is almost right. I was lucky there when I put it down with the with the sponge, you nearly ended up the right tonal value. Okay, let's pick up some just graphite from my graphite paper. This is also all super subtle, so it's better to just use the brush than a pencil. Alrighty, let's get the tie in over here. So I'm just going to use whatever graphite is available there for now. Maybe use my other hand just for a few seconds, just to get this little bit of a rounding over there. Not working that well. Okay, like I say, this is a super subtle little shading and rounding over here. Here's a little bit of a found line, but everywhere else it's quite soft. It's just shadings. Okay, let's go back to I think let's do the 2H for now over here. So now I need to lay down this graphite here a little bit more accurately. Okay, let's go over to B. So little areas like this over here can now go darker. So you can see I'm trying to just get that little rounding shape right. All the while I'm not pressing hard. Okay, let's use the brush and let's blend all that in. Awesome. This here needs to go darker, so the B is clearly not giving it to me, so I'm going to use my 8B. That's looking better, eh? I think all this here is probably going to need to go a bit darker, but as we get up here more towards the eyebrow side of things, then I think we'll concentrate a little bit more on that. We want to just do enough here today on this area so that we can judge the nose. Yeah, I think that little dark bit is good there. Okay, let's take whatever's here and let's start just pushing that across here to the bridge of the nose, the root of the nose, I should say. That's quite fine over there, so I'm going to go over to the blending stump. So I'm just picking up little bits of graphite from the paper. Just little bits that I can move around and put down these little shapes and shadings that I'm seeing. Just get some idea of where they are. There's little imperfections here. It's not a smooth. The skin's like wrinkled in places. So I'm just sort of establishing those little defining marks first. Okay, now that we've got those defining marks in, now we can work on getting the tonal value right to get this rounding. Because from here, all this here has tonal value. So just keep picking up little bits of graphite on your brush from the paper. Can you see how it's rounding out now, eh? There's another little darker area. So I use my blending stump. That. You could use your pencil to lay down as well. Could use a pencil as well. Alrighty, so that's gone now a little bit too dark. So I'm going to just tap over it to get his tonal value right. There's a super subtle little shading this over here. Yeah, I think let's get that last little bit of shading done just with a pencil. Super subtle. You have to really look carefully on this guy. Okay, so there I'm just working in that little found line there. That should be cool. Okay, so this guy here is also seems to be a little bit A little bit too dark at this stage. Maybe that also even just needs to move up a little bit. Yeah, let's just push that to there like that for now. Okay, let's push this guy in a bit further. He needs to come further like that. Any little bits that you can do that will get you a little bit more accurate, just gradually do them. And as you do that, you get these guys more accurate, then it's easier to judge things on the other side, and so on. Yeah, very little of that there's white, so I'm going to just keep pushing tonal value out that direction there like that. While you're watching the class, please hit the like button. I know it only takes a second, but it really helps me because it tells YouTube that this class that you're watching is worth showing to other artists and that they'll benefit from it as well. Then also leave a comment. Tell me what you thought about the class. Let me know what other classes you want me to do. And of course, if you've got questions, ask them below and I'll answer them for you. Alright, so I'm just doing little fine tunings now, just to get little tonal values and positionings and stuff a bit more accurate. For example, this guy over here must just move over slightly, like really small amounts. So I'm not just gently pushing him along. To get his positioning more correct. I think for now that's mostly, I'm mostly happy with that. We can go ahead and just fiddle with that a little bit more. Let's continue going on down here. If you can get stuff mostly correct when you're drawing like this at this stage, then you're good. Because then you can get more stuff in. And as you get more stuff in, then it becomes easier to judge these other goodies and get them more accurate. Finer details, finer positionings, and so on. Alright, so I'm going to just put some tonal value down there. There's lots of little subtle shadings happening around here. So I'm just going to add some graphite down here and fade it in. Because we'll have to do some shading and some erasing to get this right over here. Yeah, let's stick with the 8B because it's dark over here. So let's keep getting that dark. And the dark goes further up. So we'll add some more graphite down over that vicinity. Very gentle, super soft touch with the brush. Or with a pencil, sorry. Super soft. Okay, and now this comes down there. So I'm barely touching the paper now at this point. I'm just laying down that tiniest amounts of graphite for now. Remember, I'm still at the stage where I need to create the shape. We're not sure of the shape yet. So we don't care too much about tonal values or anything like that. All we're caring about is the shape. It does look like this needs to come down a little bit straighter. See, I've curled mine a little bit too much. And those are the kinds of things that you're adjusting at this stage of the fight. When you, right at the beginning, get your shapes right, when things are light, because then it's easier to make those adjustments. Right, so I'm now going a little bit out the pictures, just on the cheek area, just to get this, just to blend out initially. That's fine. Alright, so now that we've got our shape more or less, we can see it needs to go a little bit slower out that way. So now that we got that basic right, now we're happy. Now we can start adding more details in these kinds of areas where it needs to go darker. We can start adding more tonal value to get the tonal values more right. So now it's fine tuning. We're happy with that. Yeah, we're getting there. That's cool. Comes around there. Right, so then now here. In between that and the nostril wing, here this little piece needs to just shade. So I'm just brushing over there to get that to shade as best I can for now with a brush. Seems not too shabby. Okay, now we can come back in with a pencil and just fine tune that little shading. That's great. This just seems like you can go up a little bit further. And then we've got a little bit of reflected light just in that area over there. I think let's even use a Kneaded Eraser. Just a small little tip. Just gently lift out that little bit of reflected light. Tiny amount. Yeah, it goes to there like that. Let's go to an H. Let's just get this area around it. Just above that reflected light, a little bit darker. Because remember, you can't have bright lights without dark shadows. So think about that saying a bit. Something's not going to look light unless it's got something dark next to it to contrast against. Just seems like over here it goes slightly darker. Just over there. Right, so that's cool. He's gone a little bit too light, so just adjust his tonal value to get that looking accurate. There we go. Maybe a bit more, eh? Yeah, there we go. Right. Let's continue around here. Here's a darker little area. Then this area over here is also still a little bit darker. So I'm just circular motion, adding a little bit more tonal value that we can use the brush to blend outwards into the cheek area to show that rounding over there. It's like that. Because what's happening is that this area over here is at this stage basically neat paper, and it's not. It needs a bit of a shading. So I'm just gradually bringing in that little bit of tonal value over there. Let's maybe go wide, just so that you can see that better. Can you see there? This little area over here, there is some tonal value running down in that area over there like that, which marries up with this. Yeah, that's what I say. Let's move that out there. Can you see how our nose has got nice definition and depth because of this over here? And then obviously all these contrasts around it and so on. Yeah, I think for the most part I'm happy with that. There, we're not going to work on that. We'll work on that when we get to the eyebrows. Right, I think let's stay wide for now. Let's just get this a little bit more accurate. You can even go over to a larger brush. Use a brush like this. So it's twice the size that we were using before. And we can also go over to using the cloth as well. Here I can see this is possibly a little bit too light. So I'm going to give him just a very light little coat. Because it can't be as light as this side. Our sun's coming from here. So we've got to make sure that everything on this side here is lighter than the guys on that side over there. Okay, let's see. Let's get our 8B pencil, and I'm going to just add a layer running all the way down here. So you can see I'm even keeping the pencil quite flat. Just to add some tonal value here. See that there needs to go darker, so we can add a little bit more tonal value there. Okay, let's blend what we've done. So this is nice large areas now that we can work on. So technically this should go quicker than like fine areas like this. But you must now still not, like, don't rush these kinds of areas because they're still important. Alright, so this whole area here is still too light, so I'm going to just give him a light little coating just to get his overall tonal value correct. None of this here is white, where at this point we've left it neat paper. Yeah, awesome. Alright, let's take a look. This here seems to be a little bit more of a found line, so I'm going to just brush over that area a little bit more. And you see there? Just like that, you've got your found line. And then it comes down over here a little bit more. Just softens out over there. Yeah, and I think then it'll tie up better when we do the mouth area. So I think for now, that is pretty much where he needs to be. Let's continue darkening this up a little bit more. So I'm just laying more graphite down. But as I do, I'm also laying it down in just little patches. Because you have inconsistencies where one area is a little bit lighter and darker than the other. I think you can see it quite nicely over here. Can you see here? It's darker over there, and then next to it it's lighter, giving you almost like a little bit of a line over there. It's quite subtle. From where I'm sitting, I can barely see it, but on the screen I can see it quite distinct. So you have to stand back every now and again, and then you'll see these little darker patches like this and the lighter patches. So when you're adding tonal value down, you're going to add the tonal value down, say in that lighter patch, to even out those little uneven tonal values and get it more, the shadings just a bit more consistent and smoother. I call that polishing. It's essentially polishing these little uneven areas to get it smoother. Yeah, we need to go quite dark, but again, this is sort of part of the eyebrow area. So I'm just going to get just a suggestion of darker over there, and then we'll get it more accurate later. Just so that we've got a bit more continuity running down here into the area that we are working on. Can you see that our tonal value is getting closer now? Yeah, that's great. That's great. There's a nice continuous shading over there. I'm happy with that. This is still a little bit light, so I'm just darkening that up ever so slightly. Not much. It's definitely still too light. Yeah, that's probably okay there. Okay, this area here is still too light as well. This area here is still too light. there's quite a distinct little chiseled out piece over here. So I'm actually pressing a little bit hard over here to get that a nice sharp little line. And then just lay off on the pressure as you come out over here. Get that. Right, let's take a look. I think let's go closer in again on that nose, just to make sure we've got everything in place, and then we can, if we have, we can start adding our texture. Let's take a look. We haven't really concentrated on that area there yet. We did work a little bit here, but we did nothing over here. So there's a little bit of a, very subtle, but there's just a little bit of a darkness over there. There's also a little something there. And then it looks like here, this little darkness over here needs to come out a little bit further. Like that. And this one here needs to go just a little bit thinner. Okay, I'm happy with the positioning of that nostril there now, so I'm getting that nice and dark. Right, so yes, quite subtle little shadings and things happening over here. As that nostril curls around from the bottom to the top. So I'll go all the way to a 2H. And just get that little transition from light through to dark, just to get that in. It's a super quick little transition. And here seems to go a little bit broader. Just a tiny amount broader than anywhere else. Here as well, that little shading goes a little bit higher up over there. Yeah, it's probably good enough. So now by the time we add all our little textures and stuff from the stone in, I think it'll balance all that out. Great, and then here, this little reflected light is a little bit too light. I'm just going over him until he's the right tonal value. Maybe go over to an H. And then to a B. Because now we can, because we've darkened up that, we can now also darken up these darks. Alright, I think for the most part I'm happy. So I'm now going to take my blending stump and let's just add a few of these little marks and things from the stone. Let's start getting that texture in over there. There's a little bit more shading to come. This needs to come a little bit further down like this. Okay, let's continue adding more little marks and things in there. So use whatever you need to give you a contrast. For example, over here I need to use the B pencil or the 8B pencil to get those marks in. And there where it's more subtle, you can use a B pencil or you can use an HB pencil. Just dabs and taps and stuff. So I'm trying to work accurate, but I'm never going to get it exact. It's just not possible. So I'm judging it as best I can. And I promise you it's going to be good enough. Absolutely good enough. It's quite fun doing this actually. I like adding this extra little texture to it. It adds just a little something extra. And all it is a few little dabs and dashes. It's really not difficult. I think this area here needs to go a little bit darker. So I'm just picking up some graphite and just pushing it along. And as I do, I'll be able to add these other little odd marks and things. There's quite a distinct little mark over there. Almost like a beauty spot. Just have that little darker spot over there. Yeah, that's fine. There's a few more little subtle ones here and there as well. Okay, let's take a look here on the nose. There's some marks over here. There's a mark over there. There's some darker marks over there. In actual fact, I think this area underneath the nose possibly still a little bit too light. Let's darken him up now. Yeah, that's better. Because we've got this mark over here. Let's fade that out a little bit slower. So we didn't work over there either. Got that mark. There's a mark around here. Here I think I'm going to get this just a little bit darker. There's a definite little found line over there, which shows you that nice bit of reflected light. Okay, then he fades upwards like that, and he fades quickly down this direction there too. It's not a found line here by the fulcrum. It's just a found line there by the tip of the nose. Okay, and that's all dark over there. We'll work on that when we get to the mouth, because that's part of the upper lip. Okay, let's see. Here's another mark here. Here's a few little marks on this guy. And what's nice about these marks is they also sort of tend to follow now the contour of the face, so you can strategically use them to also help you get that shape of the face right. Let's maybe add a little mark over there. Here's a little dark mark around here. It's going this way, and then it curls over there. Okay, and this side, get some of those marks in. There's quite a few little dabs and dashes in this vicinity, to be honest. They're quite subtle, but they're definitely there. Yeah, that's cool over there. There's marks over there, but we can't put them in yet. Alrighty. So what you can do now is just stand back and just check your tonal values and stuff. Just do little adjustments to get those tonal values now right. So that's now when you stand back and just check yourself. Check your tonal values, make sure you're happy with them, and so on. So I think for now I think I'm happy with what we've got there. Let's maybe just fiddle a little bit with this side over here. We haven't done anything there yet, eh? Alright, so let's take a look here by the ear. It comes down, and here you've got this cheekbone. Just in this area over here, where it's definitely darker over there. So I'm laying down a little bit more tonal value. And on this side of the face, I'm actually seeing quite a bit of... I'm definitely seeing chisel marks. It's not perfectly smooth. Okay, and that dark comes down into here. A little bit down there. So let's go to the big brush. So I'm not going to get this perfectly smooth, but I am just going to shade it in that direction where I can see these chisel marks. I can see them running down in this direction. So that way we'll automatically get some sort of a stripy effect there. But it's not it's a subtle stripy effect. Don't now go and put in distinct stripes. Okay, this is darker over here. It's not quite white. There's our lightest spot right here. You see that right there. There's the lightest place in this whole drawing. That comes out a little bit further, just gradually fades away on us. So I'm going to fade until I get to this area over here. I don't want to touch that paper whatsoever. Try and never ever touch that piece of paper there, to keep it nice and clean. Okay, so this comes down here and it just gradually becomes lighter. So I'll start by picking up some of the graphite, go here where it's at its darkest, and draw him down so that all the lots of graphite lays down here, and then as he gets out to here, he not only fades out, but he also fades broader like this. So it's sharp little fold over there, you could say. Not quite a fold, but you know what I'm saying. And then it flattens out. So you've got to go start there, and you go this way, this way like a seesaw. It's broader here, and it goes to that narrower point over there. Okay, got this darker bit coming down here that we started working on earlier, eh? And then we sort of did have to stop because we were on the closer view. So I'm just going to keep adding that in. Yeah, great. So the same thing over here as what we had there, where it goes broader and flattens out. Same thing happens over here. So it's sharp over there and broader over here. So you've got to gradually just broaden these brush strokes of yours so that it does join up eventually. That's great. Super subtle little bit of shading over there just to get that so it's brightest there, gradually getting darker, and then it goes darkens quicker over there as that skin curls away from the light. Yeah, I think for the most part that's good. That's good. And it's also a nice little bright spot over there again. Okay, now let's take a look over here. Let's work on getting that little cheekbone to stand out. So I'm going to start by just darkening up this here initially. Because that cheekbone does now cast a shadow as it curls away from the light. Like that. Then in here, this area over here, just sort of around this vicinity needs to be quite a bit darker. Because it's now these darks here that make that look lighter. That's cool there like that. That's great. It's looking much, much better. So now you'll also see that this here seems to be just slightly darker than it needs to be, hey? So we haven't got quite that nice sunny look. So get that nice rounded shape on your kneaded eraser like that. Flatten him out so that we've got that nice flat rounding. Tap him on your graphite paper to dirty him up so we can just pick up very subtle little tonal values. And let's tap him just there where that highlight needs to be. Yeah, there you go. You see, he's already starting to come out at us. That's fine. That's fine. Let's go and get this darker. So just add a bit more tonal value there. Then as he comes down here, it's going to go very dark because you've got that whole jaw is curling away from the light. So I'm just going to add some of that in. To start suggesting that. And then we'll fine tune it when we get to the mouth. Yeah, we're starting to get some beautiful dimension on that face now, hey? Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that for today. That's enough for this class. Then in the next class, we'll work on this mouth area over here. And then we'll move back up to the top and we'll finish off that. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you did, don't forget to subscribe so that I can inform you when I release a new class like this. Then also don't forget to head over to my website. If you enjoyed this lesson, I've got hundreds more like this on my website, just waiting for you to follow. Good luck. I'll see you next time.